So at this point, you've been, like I said, what is it like you've obviously learned? So what have you honed in? What have you like, oh, we're excellent. Like we've got this locked down. And what do you still need to work on? What are your strengths and what do you think you still need to get better at? Because everyone's growing.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what. So everyone's growing.
I think I mentioned earlier too, a lot of the team works still from home, right? Post-COVID stuff. I think there's some efficiencies that the team needs to improve on, and that's probably going to be our focus for Q1, Q2 this year. And part of that might be just getting into the office more and just being more, more around, the team and, somebody's 10 steps away instead of, 10 miles away kind of thing. But the other, I think what we're pretty darn good at is obviously we're pretty good at finding some deals that have some meat on the bone. And we're good at turning them around. The first few deals we bought during the COVID times and stuff like that were, pretty heavy lifts, hair and fire, supply chain issues, all kinds of stuff. So it really forced the entire team to kind of really get good at what they were doing, right? So, turning these projects around in minimal time, I would say is probably another thing that we are pretty decent at, compared to most.
Got you. So I know you've done things like you've gone to China recently, but that's all about the bottom dollar, right? That's all about, and that's benefits your investors. It obviously benefits you, but you talked about supply chain issues. Are those behind us completely, or is it?
I mean, it's obviously not as bad as it was back when COVID was around, right? Or post-COVID, with some of the issues we had with the shipping and all that stuff. But the whole purpose of doing that is you hit on the head. Like I'm going there to drive down our cost of
making relationships.
Right? Yeah, I mean, people don't, flooring, for example. If you're buying flooring and you're paying $1, I'm just going to throw out numbers, $1.40, $1.50 a square foot, but we're able to drive that down to 90 cents a square foot. Most people are thinking, that's not a big deal. But if you're buying potentially a couple million square feet of flooring per year, right, it hits the bottom line pretty hard.
And not only, like I said, not only you benefit, but your investors benefit because, I feel like not all operators would go that extra mile. And one thing I think you excel at, and anyone who knows you thinks you excel at, is getting a deal. You're the king of getting a deal on something.
I'm pretty cheap. Yeah, no,
you got to be though. You got to be.
I looked at it too, like the Lowe's, the Home Depots, the big companies of the world. I mean, they're getting something, right? Yeah. So why not get it from their source instead of paying their premium, right? And just buy it direct. So was it easy to fly, 30 hours or whatever the whole travel day was to get out there and stuff? And no, it wasn't simple. It wasn't easy, right? But the relationships that came out of that one trip were tremendous. I mean, it's not just flooring. It's multiple things that we buy, right? So, I think that to be great in any business, at least most CEOs, most owners have to be kind of somewhat a little kooky, right? A little bit obsessed, right? With just always trying to drive that number down and create more efficiencies.
So. No, it makes sense. It makes total sense.